Hello everyone, just a quick word from your friendly editor/husband. For all of you who listen to So I'm Watching This Show and own an Android device, do me a favor. Go to the Google Play Store and download the Podcast Republic app. It's a fantastic app that allows you to get all of your favorite podcasts directly on your Android devices. I use the app and love it. I can search for the podcasts I want to listen to, select them as favorites, and have them all just a click away. Make sure you set So I'm Watching the Show as a favorite so you don't miss any new episodes. Again, the app is Podcast Republic, available on your Android device. Thanks!
I guess we don't really need, an intro for this, because it's going to be
We definitely can't do a topical intro.
let's just, at this point of the episode, rank our best dressed at the Golden Globes.
Julia Roberts.
Well, I was going to say Allison Janney.
Yeah, Allison Janney.
Probably not best dressed, but she is something.
For me, I want to say Julia Roberts, Kristen Bell, Denai Guerrera, and Alison Brie.
Oh, okay.
I think. And Constance Wu.
Yeah. That was our best dress at the Golden Globes.
We started talking about it. This is going to air in September.
Hello, everybody. I am Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching the Show. On today's episode, we started off just going to talk about George of the Jungle.
Yes.
We are taking some time to build up our little cache of kind of emergency episodes. So if you're listening to this, we probably recorded it months ago.
It's January 7th. That's the exact date we recorded
this. Just for context, in case we make some comment or joke or the audio quality changes drastically in between episodes. But we have a stack of movies that we started to work through, and one of them was George of the Jungle. And I hadn't seen it in, we think about 10 years.
Yeah, and that's the only time I've seen it.
While we were watching it, we decided to pull what we did with that little Jake Gyllenhaal episode that we did, where it was like medium good Jake Gyllenhaal movies. And so we decided to do medium good Brendan Fraser movies.
These three movies are less good than the Jake Gyllenhaal ones.
Oh, sure. Well, but that's to be expected.
They are medium.
The catalog we're dealing with.
I was like, they are both the medium sets of movies within the actor's oeuvre.
I feel like, I don't know if this is universal, but I feel like there are three kinds of movies, and TV show, and music, and all that. But it's like, there's good movies, there's medium movies, and there's bad movies. And then within those, there's good, medium, and bad.
Yeah.
So I feel like all three of these, two of these are certainly good medium movies.
Yes.
And then one of them's a medium movie.
Correct.
Okay. I was like, are you going to go as far as to say bad?
Yes. No, because it was really like the first 10 minutes of Bedazzled is what you're, It was the first 10 minutes of Bedazzled that I was really put out.
We'll get to it.
It pulled back.
We'll get to it. So the movies are, in case you can't read or couldn't be bothered to read the title, sometimes it's cryptically worded. They are going to be George of the Jungle, Blast from the Past, and Bedazzled.
Correct.
We are not doing The Mummy, but we will.
We will do an episode covering the whole Mummy trilogy because... And I am ducking tomatoes as I say this. I have never seen any of them.
Or, also, why would you be asking us that? We already covered it months ago. Use whichever take applies well. That is astonishing to me that you have never seen the first Mummy movie.
Sorry.
Because we were talking before, and I was like, did you not hang out with Denisha enough in high school?
I did not. I didn't. I hung out with Denisha very little.
Hi, Denisha, if you're listening.
Yeah,
I don't think you are, but either way, how's the baby? Going well? So, George of the Jungle. I don't think I saw this in theaters, to tell you the truth.
97?
Yeah. I think we got it on DVD because we would go to Disney World every spring, and we'd go to the Outer Banks every summer, and we did Williamsburg a few times and stuff, and so we got one of those
I love Colonial Williamsburg.
Do you really?
I really do.
Oh, the Defunct Land that I talked about in one of our other episodes, the YouTube show.
Do they talk about that?
He covers some Busch Gardens stuff.
Oh, cool.
And we went to Busch Gardens a few times in a row, and it was visceral.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, because he talked about the Big Bad Wolf.
Yeah.
And that was one of the first roller coasters I went on because it's kind of mild.
That's the first one I ever went on, but I was still too young because I didn't go on roller coasters for like 10 years after that.
Oh, it was so good it closed. Apparently, though, the ride that they replaced it with is excellent, and they also pay tribute to the Big Bad Wolf in the ride. It's the Autobahn is the ride, and you go into a tunnel, and they do like a Big Bad Wolf thing.
Okay.
So we're off to a great start.
I was going to say...
Denisha, how did you care? How did you like that? This defunct land.
You also just snatched that memory out of where Bing Bong is because I had forgotten it was called the Big Bad Wolf until you said it, and then I was like...
Right? Because there was that little village and the surprise hill. You don't realize that you were as high as you were.
Yeah.
And they also talked about Drakenfire.
Oh, I don't remember that one.
So anyways.
Back to Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, we had one of those like car TVs with like the VHS/DVD player. And so one of the things that we would do to get prepared to drive, because we always drove to Disney World, is Mom and Grandma would take us out like the day before, and we would like buy a bunch of like books and movies and stuff that we hadn't seen before. So we had like things to entertain us. And I think this was one of the ones that we got. So I loved it. We both loved it.
You and Andrew.
Yeah. Yes, that is a necessary clarification. My brother and I agreed a lot on a lot of things, but there was a handful of movies that we both loved. It was like this, Big Daddy, Romeo and Michelle's High School Reunion, Jungle to Jungle. Like there was Deep Impact was one of them. I remember when you moved down here or around that time. So probably
we were in the apartment
literally 10 years after the movie came out.
Yeah.
We went through a phase where we watched it a few times, and I remembered enjoying it then. And it put the song Dela by Johnny Clegg and Savuka, Savuka,
yeah, all right,
into our rotation. So for a good 5 years, that came up in our playlists and stuff. It's a song that's in the movie. I guess we're leading with it, but it is so good.
It's so cute. It's really, really, really just like a sweet-natured song.
It's very 90s, very kind of like, what's that one? The
Lion
in the middle
Sleeps
of the night.
Oh, Billy Joel?
Is that Billy Joel?
Yeah.
It's called The River of the Valley of Truth or something.
Yeah.
And then
I was going to say The Lion Sleeps Tonight.
Sure,
it's
both.
got the like jungle
It's got
sounds.
kind of like the African music and stuff, and maybe that's who the other singer is. But it has the George of the Jungle theme worked into it. It's so dreamy and it's romantic, but not in a like... It suits the movie really well, and it suits the scene in the movie really well.
Yeah, it's not like sexy.
Or sappy. But it's cute without being...
Well, the hook is, I think I know why the dog howls at the moon, and that's like...
such a great, like, to sum up romance, like... Oh my... And that I remember that, like, flooring me in 2007.
Yeah.
And then cut to me. Like,
yeah, well, it's just like, I remember you trying to sell me on this movie, and you just kept doing that. You just kept saying the dog howls at the moon.
Really?
Yeah, and all I could think of now is that it was so similar to when I was trying to explain what truffles are to you.
Mm-hmm.
When I was like, with the pigs and their hooves, and it's like in the forest, and you were like, what the fuck are you talking about? Because that's what it was. You were like, come on, I think I know why the dog howls at the moon. And I was like, you're doing nothing.
This is just going to be a messy episode. My brother's girlfriend, Corey, was just telling me that she just had this exact same issue with truffles.
Really?
Yeah, where she didn't know what they were. And she was having the same confusion I had, where she thought they were chocolate. They were like candy. And she's worked in the restaurant. And so she was like, I know what they smell like. She was like, but I didn't know what they were. And whoever was trying to explain it to her was over-explaining it.
The pigs.
And finally one of her friends was like, it's like a mushroom.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what happened. You kept over-explaining it to me, and I was imagining pigs finding little chocolate cream, like, candies in dirt. And I was like, none of this is making any sense. And the one where I was like, my brain could no longer handle it was we were watching season 1 of Gossip Girl, and she eats a grilled cheese and truffle sandwich. And you're like, God, that sounds really good, actually. And I was like, how? I was like, explain to me how that sounds good.
It's savory.
I didn't. I was imagining chocolate.
Yeah, no.
And so I just remember watching season 1 of Gossip Girl several weeks later with Brittany. And she made a similar comment. And I just go, what is a truffle? And she goes, it's like a mushroom. And I was so angry at you that you were probably like at work and you got this like burning sensation.
I just fell down.
What was that? Anyways, so we decided to revisit George of the Jungle. I was very nervous because when you have such fond memories of something from childhood, I've learned the hard way, it doesn't always, because it's like I remember like Scary Movie and Not Another Teen Movie being like the height of comedy.
Yeah.
And actually both of those have their moments still, but I think more so Not Another Teen Movie, but
probably, yeah.
so we rewatched this and I'm pleased to say that I think it's still pretty great.
Yeah, I think it's for kids. But it's very punny and it's very silly in a cute way.
But it's not that entirely, because by the end I was getting tired, fatigued, I'll go with, because the things that work for me and the things that I think that resonate or the things that and I think this was true when it came out as now, is like, it's got a pretty solid script. It's a standard because it's Tarzan and they even make a Tarzan joke. It's very, like you said, punny, it's slapsticky, it's very vaudevillian in that regards. It's a self-aware script, which I think that's one of my favorite types of comedy is when they break the fourth wall constantly in this movie.
The narrator specifically.
Well, George does it and
too,
doesn't.
Yeah.
I thought even Ursula did it at one point, but
I don't think Ursula does. But George and I want to say
the tour guides do. Yeah. Like. And they do interact, because what's the one where he's actually fighting? One of the thugs is fighting with the narrator.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I do love a narrator it's very Into the Woods that way.
Yeah, with like a narrator that can like tell you what's up.
But yeah, there's a lot of things like that. Well, there's a lot of alliteration, because it's always like our hunky hero or like
a perfectly permed.
Yeah, perfectly permed heiress. And there's a lot of running jokes like Ursula's fiance or that guy she was with, and they do it like it runs. It's like a running joke that in that way. I don't know why I'm stuttering so much. This movie is why I know who a lot of these people are.
Oh, like Holland Taylor and
I think Holland Taylor. I think this was my introduction to her, and she's very funny in it. She doesn't get a lot of funny material. She's the I guess one of two villains, but she just in that Holland Taylor-esque way just commands the role and the screen.
Yeah, it's like she doesn't get a lot of the jokes, but she is the funny thing.
She's so
and she commits so hard.
And her husband, I had forgotten that he kind of hated her too or something, but it was pretty funny. And this is also why I know Leslie Mann. I think this was my introduction to Leslie Mann, and it was followed very quickly by Big Daddy. And I want to say something else because I adore Leslie Mann. I think she is so funny. She certainly is at leading lady status, but I still think she's underrated.
Yeah, well, she's like a comedic leading lady. Mm-hmm. She's always...
I mean, like, she gets her own movies is what I meant by that, because it's like Blockers it was an ensemble, but it was like her movie.
Sure.
And this is not why I know Thomas Hayden Church, but he is gorgeous in this movie. This movie has so much hair, so much good hair.
So much 90s hair.
Oh my God, her perm. We were watching these movies and I was like, there's going to be a lot of crunchy curls in these movies.
And actually, the only one that didn't was in Bedazzled.
Well, not really crunchy curls, but Frances O'Connor had plenty of wigs.
Wigs, yeah.
When I brought up Thomas Hayden Church, I was going to say that we both knew him from Wings.
Yeah. He played Lowell, the mechanic.
I don't know if it's like true for everyone, but several people I know of our generation knew USAM. Yeah. When they would stay home from school. I loved USAM.
Well, I watched Wings with my parents when it was on.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
When it was like on. So I watched it again on USAM, but I watched Wings sometimes when it was on.
I watched it and Working, and because that's how I knew Debbie Mazar and Arden Marine.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of what some of the others were. Didn't Taya Leone have a show?
Yeah, Taya Leone on NBC. What fucking show was that?
Something about being naked.
Yeah.
The Naked Truth?
Maybe.
Oh yeah, The Naked Truth. That was anticlimactic. It ran for 3 seasons. So it was like, it was, if you aren't familiar with it, it was like in the mornings on USA, they would run kind of medium good or medium successful, or rerun rather, medium good or medium successful sitcoms.
Basically, it was before things were like successful and there were bidding wars, and they just made it to 100 episodes and it got syndication somewhere. And I think Wings is an underrated
One might even say you love Wings.
I love Wings. I told you earlier, it is the most I have ever related to Quagmire from Family Guy.
There's this hilarious bit from Family Guy with like Quagmire talking, because they're talking about Steven Weber, aren't they? And he's like, "Come on, from Wings."
Yeah, it's something. I think it is Steven Weber. It's either Steven Weber or Tim Daly. It's one of the brothers, and they're talking about him. But they're also.
I think it's Tim Daly, and he's like.
But they're also like in a water tower for some reason, and they're drinking. The four of them are drinking, and he just is like, "Come on, from Wings," and they're all like, "I don't what."
And he's like, "It launched Tony Shalhoub's career."
Yeah.
Crazy people living under a rock don't know Wings. I love Wings.
And he just storms off. But you were saying at me like I didn't know Wings.
Yeah.
And I was like, which one of us said Amy Yazbek's name 3 times the day before?
That's true. She played Helen's sister.
Because she was only on like a couple seasons, wasn't she? She wasn't there from the beginning.
They brought her in as like a secondary female lead towards the end, but she wasn't in all of it.
Yeah, we were talking about her the day before because we were talking about Splash and then Splash 2. Because she plays Madison in Splash 2.
I can't believe it.
We'll be covering it. Stay tuned.
I don't want to.
But yeah, burying the lead, this was my introduction to Brendan Fraser. I have so many, because I was 12. So I have so many memories and feelings about Brendan Fraser in this movie.
Well, I was 22 when I watched it, so we do not relate on this front.
Oh, really? I kind of thought you were going to say the exact same thing.
No, I mean, not when I was 12. I mean, he's very handsome in this.
Mm-hmm.
I can't argue that. And he's super fit.
Mm-hmm.
like extremely fit.
I remembered it being more because I think I was less used to it at 12.
Yeah. He actually, he's not like bulky and crazy. He's more got the build of like a runner, like a distance runner.
He did a photo shoot for, I think it's Premiere Magazine around this time. And it is something. It is a sight. For some reason, he's dressed up like, it's like a beefcake photo shoot. And he's dressed up like he's different Greek gods, but like by way of a Vegas show. I will put the pictures on the Instagram.
Link to the Instagram.
Like, there's one where he's just wearing like a gold foil cod piece, and that's it. Like, it's not even straps.
All right, we're gonna pick up this episode in a little while.
I think that one was called Adonis Calling. And then he's like Poseidon in one of them.
Neat.
Yeah, I remember because I remember saving these images on my computer in the folder.
Sure.
And this was before we had Google, so I couldn't figure out. I didn't think they were from a movie, but I thought that Brendan Fraser was like a showgirl in like before George of the Jungle or something. Yeah, it was really funny. Seeing all of these pictures, it all came screaming back to me.
Yeah.
He's good. He was good in this. I think the material, the George stuff. Well, first of all, I had forgotten that he like talks that way.
Yeah,
and I got used to it pretty okay. I think it certainly, they don't stop doing it, but either you acclimate or it tones down a little bit. And the slapstickier moments don't do it. I don't know if they ever did, but all the like crashing into the tree. And yes, I know it's from the cartoon.
Yeah.
But it happens a fair amount. And that stuff I'm not really here for. Like I said, by the end, I think the last like 15 minutes of it is it's like an onslaught of that.
Yeah. Well, and that's when I was like, it's for kids. Because that's the kind of stuff where I'm with you. I'm sort of like okay, but I'm...
Well,
that's
some
not
movies,
why I'm watching it.
Some movies are that nonstop.
Yeah.
And they had enough little, not quite nuance, but enough little jokes. I liked the stuff with Ape, with John Cleese.
Yeah.
I liked how much she couldn't handle him talking.
Yeah, and like walking.
Being sophisticated, so we had to pretend to be a monkey around her. And I actually do very specifically remember what an ass Thomas Hayden Church was with the like guides.
Yeah.
Because he keeps talking down to them, like they're savages or something, and they can understand him the whole time. And they keep making fun of him and what is it, like Swahili, I was going to say. There's just a handful of lines that are really, because what's the one that got us so much? It's once Ursula takes him back to San Francisco and he puts on her dress. And she takes him out to go shopping, and the narrator just says... being of a conservative mind regarding gender roles.
Yeah.
And it was just, I don't know why, it was just really funny.
No, it was really good. Slightly ahead of its time.
But yeah, so he had a nice little makeover. He looks pretty darn good in Armani.
Yeah.
Her friend was actually kind of funny in a way that,
Yeah, Betsy.
yeah, she didn't have a lot of material, but I let me put it this way. I think if you ever liked this movie, I think it's still good. I think it's still...
Yeah. It's certainly, I feel like you're probably not going to enjoy it as much as you did when you were 12, but you'll still like it.
Also, if you have kids this age,
Oh, for sure.
But it's like, I don't think it, because sometimes the kids' movies can be grating for the adults.
I think this one would be fine.
I think that there's a nice combination of sort of like, nothing's inappropriate, but just little kind of more mature bits and stuff. I did forget how funny I thought the elephant was.
Oh.
He has a pet elephant that he thinks is the dog, and it's a fairly rendered CGI elephant for the time, but it's just behaving so, like, it's just panting all the time you see it. Its tongue is panting, and it's, like, scratching like a dog, and that really was tickling my funny bone when we were rewatching it every time. And I always did love, because I think it happened, it might only happen once, I don't remember, we just watched it, but when they look on the mountain with awe... And they're all like, "Aw," and he's like, "AWE," and they're like, "Ooh."
That's the kind of stuff. That's the like punny things that I like.
This is actually a theme that goes through the two, and even a little bit into the third movie. But I like that the thing was just how kind George was.
Yeah,
that he was really sweet, and because Tarzan is very Tarzan. I mean, it's very brutal. And she even asked, he has like the alligator necklace, and she's like, or crocodile? And she's like, did you fight a croc for that? And he was like, no, it had a toothache, and I helped it. And he helps the monkey,
make friends
with all the other monkeys that were being mean to him. And it just like, I mean, I could pretend to go deep with this and be like, it's a metaphor about like humanity and the way that like, because, I mean, the parallel between the two of them, that George is, like, kinder and more civilized than the people from actual civilization. But I don't know. Because that was the thing about the next movie that really stuck with me was just, or my takeaway, I'll say, was just how good he was.
Blast from the Past is basically Christopher Walken and Sissy Spacek are a married couple, and he is like very paranoid about the A-bomb in the 60s. And so he has built this like intense bunker underground, and they like end up going there mistakenly. And Brendan Fraser is born and raised for 35 years in the bunker. And then he like has to leave and figure out about the world.
Sure. That's I meant like, well, I wanted to watch Blast from the Past because we didn't really detail George of the Jungle. But
sorry. I wondered why you were smiling at me that way.
I was like, this is all accurate, but I meant like...
No, I'm a little punchy right now. Yeah, I wanted to watch Blast from the Past because I think I saw this in the theater with my parents, and it just tickled me.
Really?
From the word go. I thought it was so funny. I did know who Brendan Fraser was at the time from... I don't know what, but I did know, and so I liked him, and I liked.
It was hard to miss, even if you hadn't seen The Mummy, he was hard to miss because in this period of time, Kathy Griffin would tease him a lot because she had a show, and she just called him Hollywood's Do Anything Man.
Yeah, kind of.
You got a job for him, he was there, you know.
But yeah, so since it came out, it has like. I didn't watch it for a long time, but in the last like 10 years, I've probably watched it 5 or 6 times.
Oh, really?
And it is. It just is one of my favorite sort of like unappreciated gems. You said it while we were watching it that it avoids a lot of pitfalls that could...
It touches on a handful of topics, and especially in context, it handles them pretty well. There is a sex worker that Christopher Walken has a conversation with that's actually kind of... It borders on charming, where in a way that I was bracing for impact when we...
Yeah, I read a couple of reviews for it, and they were like, aside from that really heavy anti-trans comment in the first, and I was like...
What was the comment? Or I guess when he's talking to Sissy Spacek in the bunker.
He's like...
It's played for comedy.
It's played for comedy,
in an inappropriate way. That I meant like I thought the interaction between the two of them was kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, I feel like that's one of those things that you really can't look at it out of context. Because,
And you have to look at it in context two ways.
Yeah.
A movie from the 90s depicting a man from the 60s.
Exactly. Well, and a man from the 60s who's an adult in the 60s, so a man who was born in the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you have to kind of think of that when he's...
It's not necessary, it lifts out.
It does lift out. But if it were made today, that joke wouldn't be there, but I don't think it harms it necessarily.
So... I think you made me watch this one. I have the memory of you making me watch it, but I remember so little about it.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why that then makes me think that I didn't watch it is I loved this movie this time.
Did
So I feel like I would remember.
Yay!
Like, I think it would be weird that I liked it more now that I was a little bit...
Because at the beginning, you were not reacting at all, and I was like, son of a bitch, I'm like so bad at picking stuff for you to watch.
No, I love that I guess you were cooking. I did the thing where I was like, I realized I had the hugest grin on my face.
Oh, okay.
Like, my cheeks kind of hurt a little bit. I don't know what to say. It was so cute in a way that, like, it's a premise.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit of a difficult premise to swallow in the beginning. And so I think that was kind of why I was a little bit just sort of like, because it's Christopher Walken and Sissy Spacek. And
I'm sorry, Sissy Spacek. I've always loved Sissy Spacek from way back. Where, like, I did see Carrie when I was pretty young. And
we talked about her in we have a Carrie episode.
Oh my God. I love her in that. I love her in Coal Miner's Daughter. I love her in so much. I love her in Tuck Everlasting, which is really medium. I think Sissy Spacek.
That? I remember, what is...
Oh, it's like a YA, very young YA, like a tween book. And
is it like Devon Sawa or something?
No, it's Joshua Jackson or Jonathan Jackson and William Hurt.
You're like blowing my brain up right now.
And Alexis Bledel.
Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. Okay, sorry, continue.
So yeah, I've always liked Sissy Spacek, and her performance in this movie, if ever there were an argument for like more awards for comedy, this fucking I am not joking. I am so serious. Her facial expressions, the way that she acts at Christopher Walken, just even literally the way that when she's sending Adam out and she's like giving him this whole list, and the whole time she's like, write that down, like blah, blah, blah. And then she goes, oh, there's something called a liquor store. And she's just like, write that down.
Having just watched this, I can tell you it's the kind of performance that I think resonates more.
Yeah.
Once you've seen it.
Uh-huh.
Because it was coming off a little bit odd to me, but I could tell based on your reactions that, and not that it wasn't funny, but I was just like, I bet you if this was my fifth time, I'd be
that's the thing, is because now I've seen this movie probably 15 times, and it's like every time I notice the Sissy Spacek.
Well, it's actually a very nuanced performance, because it's very of the time where it's like she's white knuckling it.
Yeah.
But because she's the dutiful 60s housewife, she can't let that show. And so she's like really trying to keep things together, and it's by the skin of her teeth.
Well, she just like it starts very slow, because she sort of starts like tippling the cooking sherry.
It honestly reminded me a lot of Marge Simpson.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to tell you this story, and I'll say it now. It's better for Bedazzled. But they do Faust on The Simpsons one time, and it's really cute.
Yeah.
Because he sells his soul for a donut, and there's
Homer.
This whole there's this whole thing, and he's not supposed to finish the last bite so that the devil never gets his soul, and then he does, and there's this like huge trial, and there's like a jury of the damned, and it's like Lizzie Borden and John Wilkes Booth and stuff. And my favorite part is that the devil loses because Marge already owns his soul.
Oh, funny.
When he married her, he pledged his soul to her or something like that.
I like it.
So it like voids the contract. I knew you would like that one. We might put it on our we're going to cover Simpsons in a little bit.
I like that quite a lot.
It was odd. And I mean, it's pretty clear that Sissy Spacek was barely on board with this whole thing to begin with.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was having a hard time with it. 35 years is a long time.
He's right about the radiation and stuff, but my issue, the only reason is because if they hadn't gone in the bunker, they would have died because the plane crashed right on their house.
True.
But
the lock.
He is such a nut job and like a paranoid bonkers person that he just thought it was like that an atom bomb got dropped on their house.
And so then they decide to have sex and get pregnant.
No, she was pregnant.
Oh, it didn't look like it.
No, she
Okay.
definitely was, because when they're having that dinner party at the beginning, she like pops in and she goes, "Oh, any day now," and she like pats her belly. Yeah. No, she was definitely already. She wouldn't have done that. I don't think.
So they have a son who is eventually played by Brendan Fraser, and he lives his entire life in the bunker. I liked that it was pretty sweet, that it was pretty nice, because, I mean, you could go real crazy. You could go off the rails with that kind of...
Yeah, well, because Christopher Walken was like a scientist, so like he has a really detailed education. Sissy Spacek teaches him how to dance. He can presumably feed himself and stuff, and so it's like he's a very well-rounded person. He's just never met other people.
So the quarantine ends, and they go up into, it's a part of LA, right?
It's in the valley.
And it has, like, in the 30 years become real seedy. So, of course, Christopher Walken thinks that it's like a nuclear fallout.
It, like, started off as, like, a mom and pop diner, and then it was, like, a bar, and then it was, like, a worse bar, and then it was now, at the very end, it's like the back room of a sex shop, basically.
Christopher Walken has a heart attack, so Brendan Fraser has to go out and collect supplies so that they can stay in the bunker for longer. And Sissy Spacek wants out.
Yeah.
She wants to go find her own patch of land and live that way. But it was really cute. I don't know if we haven't gotten to the other part, which is Alicia Silverstone is the female lead, Eve. I didn't like that either.
I think it's cute. Adam and Eve.
No, I get it. I think I've heard that story.
Shut up.
I heard it with a man named Steve, but this was an interesting twist on that well-known tale.
Of Adam and Steve.
It had a slight maturity to it. I liked it. It was very 1909 that way. I liked her gay roommate. You said it was Dave Foley?
Dave Foley! Oh, from News Radio.
He was pretty funny. I weirdly kind of kept waiting for him to, like, come on to...
No, it's not that kind of movie.
Yeah,
I get it, but it's not that kind of movie.
But I was just heart eye emoji for Brendan Fraser through this entire movie. Although I will say I am well documented as loving bad hair, and this is an example of bad hair that I don't love.
He has like a pretty 60s, like a crew cut for most of it.
It's bad. It's not just a crew cut though. I think he was maybe based on this and Bedazzled. I think he was starting to lose his hair.
Okay.
And so it's like, I think it was weird.
Well, after Troy gives him his makeover, he's got better hair.
Yeah. He was just so sweet. And again, I liked that the moral was actually just be a good person.
Yeah.
Like, just be kind. And I made a comment to you while we were watching it, because there's a scene where he finally tells Alicia Silverstone what's going on, because he, like, kind of tricks her, and not really tricks her, but he, like, finagles her into working with him.
Well, his mom told him not to say anything. She just was like, tell them you're from out of town. You're here on business.
And he's, of course, looking for a wife. Like, he wants, like, a old-timey, almost like a Victorian era situation. And so he pretty immediately falls in love with her, and she pretty immediately falls in love with him. And this isn't my brand. I mean, I'm okay with it, but it's like I was into them in a way that I was not expecting to be. Like, I laughed at the club when I was like, oh my God, why is she being such a bitch? And I was like, oh, she's jealous. Yeah. And he can swing dance, and he's sort of like this dream man. And because he even gets bossy with her, and that's when she's like...
Well, that's one of my favorite parts, because Troy, it's like right after Troy is like, you're a really nice boy, but Eve needs a really nice man. And he gets it, and he immediately levels up. And he's like, these pants are ruined, right? And then he fucking rips them, and it's just like, whoo!
And because he's trying to give her first aid.
Yeah.
And he's like, sit down. And she like says something. And he's like, sit down. And she just does.
And he calls her a baby. And I just was like, be mean to me, Brendan Fraser.
And it's not, because it's not mean
No,
at
it's not
all.
mean.
But it's like he gets assertive with her.
He's being like tough. It's like tough love. Yeah.
It would not even that though. I'm going with assertive. It's like, oh man. I like her fine enough, and obviously she's very nostalgic for me. That was another thing I liked about this movie, and this is just personal, entirely personal, but they were like in their 30s. Oh. And usually at this, I'm 33, we're 33, and he's 35. We don't know how old she is, but the implication is that
about
she's not.
Same,
yeah. And these types of movies are very frequently like mid-20-somethings.
Yeah. Like, I'm 24,
yeah.
and it's like,
or even 27.
Yeah.
And so I just I liked that aspect of it. Yeah, I was like, she's kind of a medium actress. I don't always love or it's Rachel that doesn't like her.
I
Is
like
it
her.
you?
Fine.
Okay, it's Rachel
Yeah, I
that
like
doesn't
her,
like her. Because I threw her name down for Bianca.
Oh, okay.
Well, the point is in that scene,
Yeah.
when he does explain to her the whole bunker deal, she goes on a face journey.
It's good.
And it's really good. It's funny. It's realistic. It furthers the character without words, you know? I was like, when she's good, she's good.
And that's when I was like, she's like Sarah Michelle Gellar. It's like, she's capable of being really excellent. And then there's Batman and Robin.
Well, she even had a few moments in this movie where I was like, because at first maybe it was just like what I thought I knew about the movie, but I was like a little put off by her kind of hard ass nature at first.
I'm sorry, Cher Horowitz can't be like a hard ass into baseball cards.
All of their romance stuff worked so well for me. And what was the scene? I was like laughing because she brings in the like professionals to deal with him. And at first I was thinking she was actually trying to help acclimate him, but I guess she just thought he was a little bit crazy. Like he was
she did switch on a dime once she realized that they were going to like take him away and stuff. But she was like, oh, this guy's crazy. He wants to take me to a bunker.
She says that it's like Silence of the Lambs. Yeah.
She's like, that's creepy. And it's true. And it is. But it's like after she kind of gets like a slap to the head, a mental slap to the head, and then she's like, oh, no, shit, I believe him.
Yeah, and this has one of the better endings I've ever seen. I mean, talking about like getting to have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah. This
is such a good Sunday afternoon romantic comedy. I'm very surprised that I don't hear anything about it. I think it is I think it's got like a 49 on Rotten Tomatoes or something, or maybe a 50. All three of these movies were in the same.
That's too low.
Yeah, I loved this movie. So that's why I feel like I can't have seen it before. Because I feel like I don't
think so. I feel like I talked about it, but I don't think I ever ended up making you watch it.
Maybe we started and something happened or something, because I can kind of remember the cult stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it was weird to me at first. And it was a stretch. I was like, they're asking me to believe a lot here, but it pays dividends as the movie, because there's the son, the father, and the mother thing, and then they end up helping them, and it's just got a really sweet ending. And I don't know. I loved this movie. That's so funny for me that's going to be my takeaway, is that I love Blast from the Past.
It's so good though. So good.
The final movie we watched was, sorry, I glanced at its Wikipedia. It's Bedazzled, and on Wikipedia it's labeled as a black comedy.
No.
Yeah, I was like...
It's like, honestly, some pretty gentle comedy. It's like not... if by that you mean that, like, there is the devil in it.
Oh, it was directed... Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, Harold Ramis, yeah.
Who is... Oh, okay, yes.
He's a Ghostbuster.
I remembered seeing Bedazzled in the theaters. I remembered loving it. I think I was the right age for this kind of movie.
15, yeah.
Yeah. Depending on when it came out, I would have been 14
15, yeah.
No, I was 15, but I remember thinking it was very funny. I remember being very into Elizabeth Hurley and everything she was putting down. This is like a tour de force of 2000 tramp culture.
I was going to say, was into Elizabeth Hurley. I'm into Elizabeth Hurley now in this movie.
And you're medium on her, so...
I like her a lot in the Austin Powers movies.
Oh, yeah.
Or I guess just the first one. But I just never thought she really got quite the right role. It's like she's the the previous generation's Megan Fox.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I get that. I get that a lot, actually. So it is a retelling of Faust. I was like in Wishbone when the angel pretends to trip. And then he runs over to help her. You okay?
Wishbone episode?
I mean, I knew.
You literally just talked about the Simpsons episode and you went to Wishbone? You are a nightmare.
I knew it wasn't from that, but that's how I know the story. I always thought it was bold of like a 20-minute PBS show to take on some of the greatest and like lengthy, because they were distilling A Tale of Two Cities down to 3 scenes.
That book ends with a beheading.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Does it on Wishbone?
Yeah. We don't witness it.
Shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
'Tis a far, far better thing I do today.
Yeah.
And they had the special effects because Wishbone was really cutting edge for some reason with special effects. And they would do the blurb at the end where they show you how you did it. And so they used the same 12 extras and they put them all around the guillotine. So it looked like there was like hundreds. There's Wishbone they weren't beheading the dog.
Well, okay. Join us back here in 5 minutes after we watch all of Wishbone.
It's going to take longer than that.
I bet 5 minutes in podcast time.
Oh, sure. So it is a retelling of Faust. Most people remember this movie. I think it played on E or VH1 a lot.
Yeah.
It's the one where Elizabeth Hurley is the devil. I think that's what most people know from it. It's okay.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, I was not impressed with like the first 10 to 15.
Real strong. It starts really.
It comes on real nasty in like a real sort of like incel kind of way.
You don't feel. I at least didn't feel bad enough for him because he's being. It's like obtuse. Like he's
so not self-aware.
Yeah,
that
and it's like to be third, however old he is in this, it's like how you haven't gained those life skills yet. I don't know how to help you.
Exactly. And
they do delight in making fun of him a little bit, actually not too much. And there's that scene at the end, but it's cute. We'll say that. I don't think much of the comedy is very surface level.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's a lot of real deep dives, like for Sissy SpaceX whole character.
Sure, yeah.
Where it's like that's a choice, like that's like actual comedy.
Yeah.
And this is more set up punchline.
Yeah, well, and it's a sort of like, the whole when he's like sensitive, that's all really surface level stuff. And when he's the basketball player, it's because his dick is little.
Yeah,
it's like easy jokes.
I would say the appeal is that it's a series of vignettes, because I told you that. It's like he gets 7 wishes, so we get to see, it's like an anthology within a movie. We get to see this cast of characters take on different roles.
Yeah.
And so that's fun. It verges on Black Mirror a little bit. Like there's not really like a technological angle to it, but it's about the devil, how she sort of tricks him, because it's like he asks to be rich and powerful, so she makes him like a Colombian drug lord, which I remember that being hilarious. Watching it this time, I was a little bit like...
It's bordering on brown face. It's not comfortable.
They gave him a prosthetic nose, and I think ultimately, especially, like we said, it's way better in Blast from the Past, but I think when you look at it in context, it's okay.
It's not as terrible, and it honestly, after that first shot, which was a little bit in the shadows of like the canopy bed and stuff, it just looked like heavy bronzer, but it was still not great. And that was the thing where it was like, it was really hard at the very beginning, like I said, in the incel way. And then they leavened it a little when Elizabeth Hurley showed up, and like the Big Mac part was hilarious.
I was gonna say that's really funny.
That was really funny. So I was like, oh, okay. And then they immediately went into this like,
Colombian drug lord,
like just the wrong side of brown face, and I was like, ugh, but then they like pulled out of it again. So, but
I do think it helps.
It's questionable.
I do think it helps, and I will go ahead and say this. I feel like it's risky, but I do think it helps that it's funny.
Yeah.
That the way that they throw themselves into the performances, because I don't know what Brendan Fraser's reputation is, but I remembered always loving him. And he certainly possesses comedic timing. Well, we'll say that.
He has a pretty good reputation. The reason that he kind of got blackballed is because he got like harassed.
Yeah.
And then he got blackballed essentially. So
he's come back out a little bit recently, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's gotten a couple TV shows.
Yeah.
I'm pretty stoked about it.
I hope he's doing okay.
He is. Did you not read that profile?
I remembered it happened.
I guess I
didn't read the profile.
No, it was really good. He's kind of weird. He's like a weird dude.
Well, I know it hurt. He was hurt.
Yeah.
Like emotionally by the things that happened. And I think he was treated kind of like a piece of meat.
Yeah.
Beyond the incident, but...
No, for sure. Because, he was just... That was what he did. He was like the hunky dude for like 6 years.
I think that they are all pretty funny. Who's the supporting cast? It's Orlando Jones and Miriam Shore and
Toby Huss,
Mm-hmm.
who has recently been in Halloween and a handful of other things. *Halt and Catch Fire*.
I guess it's Paul Adelstein is the other one.
Yeah, that's the one. I couldn't remember his name.
They were very funny. Frances O'Connor, I remember when it started, I was like, get ready for a lot of wigs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of wigs and facial, not a ton of prosthetics, but it's okay. It's mild. It's amusing.
Yeah.
I'll say that. The movie is amusing. And I think it's the performances that really sell everything, because they do, when he's the sensitive guy and they do the sunset bit, that is the hard to pull off 4.
Yeah.
Not comedy rule of 3, they do it 4 times.
It's so good.
And to have that return, that's an achievement.
I think that one might have been my favorite of the vignettes.
It's really,
Yeah.
It's short too.
It's a little short. I just really enjoyed it. It was, and I think probably because of how well he sold it, and because every time I feel like she started talking, I feel like she was gonna be like, just let's have sex. I just want to have sex. And he's just like painting her paintings. And
she was good in this too. She doesn't have a lot of flashy material.
Yeah.
But she's one of those actresses that it's like a lot of people don't know her name, but they're like, oh, yeah,
that one, yeah.
when they see her. And I think she was a very apt partner for him in this movie.
Yeah. My only criticism of her ever is that she has not perfected her American accent.
Oh, really?
I can tell. I can hard tell.
Also, shout out to Bonnie Somerville. She has like one line in this movie.
What the hell? She was
That's happened to her. She's like barely in like 4 movies.
She was one of the girls in the bar at the beginning.
Because she has a scene in like Spider-Man 2 where her line got cut, but you can see her running in one of the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say this when we were talking about the Colombian drug lord story, where I was like, because there's another vignette where it's revealed that he's gay. And I remember thinking that was very funny when I was 15, and now I'm like,
It's like I said, it's very gentle comedy.
Well, what did he
Well, Toby
or
Huss.
he made the comment about you turn me into a flaming homosexual, and you were like,
I was like, no. I was like, Toby Huss was a flaming homosexual. Well,
in a very over the top kind of offensive sort of. I mean, I allow it because I don't think it was done with meanness.
No, and it was like a very 2000s like gay test, which was name the cast of the Pajama Game.
Which the premise is very 2000s, but that's a good, like, the Pajama
That is a good reference.
as opposed to like, what's your
Cabaret,
favorite?
yeah.
Or, well, even Cabaret would be okay, but as opposed to like, what's your favorite Judy Garland song? You know,
Okay,
like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? It was.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a pretty, because then Brendan Fraser's like original or 73 revival, and he's like, oh my god, I am gay. It's fine, but it's the sort of thing where it's like you feel like at least. You know, I'll be like, well, you know, everything feels the same. Nothing's really changed. And then you watch a 15-year-old movie and you're like, oh, some things have changed.
That's a 20-year-old movie.
Yeah, sure. Sure. 18. 20. Yeah, 19, 2000. Wow. Fuck.
The years start coming and they don't stop coming.
Life is like an hourglass glued to the table. This has a really interesting ending. I can see how some people would be confused or put off by it because... Of course, it's Faust. He meets God, and God inspires him to do the right thing.
One of my more preferred depictions of God, to be honest. That was great.
He's like a youth in a jail cell.
Yeah, it was a very counterintuitive choice, and I liked it quite a lot. It was actually...
Well, that works completely with me, because going with Elizabeth Hurley as the devil.
Yeah. I enjoyed that. Quite a lot. For whatever reason, that really stuck out to me.
The whole thing, because he gets out of this he has one final wish that he has to use, and because she gives him the full Universal Studios treatment, where she goes full-fledged devil in hell, and then turns back into herself with a giant with a bikini and a pitchfork. But he uses his last wish to hope that Allison, was that her name?
Yeah, Frances O'Connor.
Yeah, to hope that Allison is
has a happy life,
is happy, and that voids the contract because it's
selfless.
I remember finding it strange, and I found it strange this time too. But I kind of liked how at the end the whole thing was very casual, like the interactions between God and the devil, and when she explains to him in the courthouse, where she's kind of like, the him versus me thing has all been blown out of proportion, and in the end, and it reminds me so much of The Good Place. and it's something.
But just the end, though.
Yeah, just the end. But I'm like, but it's something that I feel like I would be annoyed by. Like I feel like the banality of the Good Places version of heaven, and the severity of its version of hell, it feels off, but it works. And this had a very similar thing, and there's a scene at the end where it's actually, the end of this movie I think is really great.
That's the thing, is like, the movie doesn't earn its ending. but the ending kind of put a salve over the rest of the movie a little, because the ending was,
well, he gets really, I think they overplayed their hand with him in the beginning, and I think that really puts a lot of the audience off, because his level of maturity grows throughout.
But like exponentially. I wonder, because I didn't end up reading any of the trivia for this, I wonder if Harold Ramis got rewritten. I wonder if he wrote an original draft that was like less stupid.
Oh, gotcha.
And then he got rewritten, is what I wonder.
Well, it says it's written by Peter Cook and Dudley Moore.
Oh, he just directed it. Okay.
But he is credited as screenplay.
Yeah, then
No. Sorry. Peter Cook and Dudley Moore are the original movie, the 1967 version.
Oh, okay.
This one, screenplay, Larry Gelbart, Harold Ramis, and Peter Tolan.
I feel like the beginning and
they went with a lot of like of the moment humor.
Yeah, I feel like the beginning and the end are Harold Ramis, because I can even justify the harshness of Brendan Fraser at the beginning being from him if he had the plan for the end. But I feel like everything in the middle was the other guy, because Harold Ramis is like kind of famously like
good,
smart and good, and so that's my opinion, I think.
Well, it ends with him finally going, and I love this, because it's like he was putting so much of his life on Allison and this imagined version of her,
and who he'd never spoken to beyond like two times
3 years ago.
Yeah.
And so he finally goes to ask her out, and he's really handsome and mature and even suave with it. Like, it's a really good.
And she's very flattered. She's like, "Oh my
stranger,"
God.
and she's just sort of like, "I have a boyfriend."
Yeah.
And like that thought had never even occurred to him. And instead of getting angry in general, or even at her, he's like, "Of course, my mistake." Like, it's kind of like he realizes how silly it is. And this is where the movie part of it kicks in. But he like meets his new neighbor, who is also played by Frances O'Connor, with, for some reason, putting on a voice. I don't know why she's putting on a voice.
She's like, her name was like Nikki Costello.
Yeah, but don't call her Nikki.
Or what, Nicole. But she was like from New York. So.
She's like, "Hi, I'm Nikki," or Nicole. And I was just like, I don't know, the brown wig's enough, Frances. We don't need the voice. But for them, it's like love at first sight. And so the implication is that he was never meant for Allison in the first place. Yeah. And it ends with them sort of walking into the sunset while God and the devil are playing chess, and God catches the devil cheating.
Yeah.
And it's another thing that I always liked is the club, when she takes him to deviate, because it's D, V, and the number 8. And at the beginning, it's very beautiful and enticing. And then when they go back later, it's like
decrepit. All the people horrific. Are old. Yeah.
They're like all old, and the videos, it's like surgery is being performed. I always remembered liking that. And it's pretty on the nose, but I still think it's a nice a nice little bit. So we mentioned her outfits, right? I think somebody did her outfits.
Well, they're amazing. She's got a lot of slinky 90s spaghetti strap.
Yeah, no, I thought someone, or like a house, provided her wardrobe, but a quick Google did not turn any results. What was the one you liked that she was, one of her jobs as the devil was expiring meters?
Just like a meter maid?
Yeah.
I loved it.
and swapping out pills for Tic Tacs and stuff. It's fine. Especially, I think if you have any nostalgia for it, it holds up okay.
Or any fondness for Brendan Fraser. This is like a fun Brendan Fraser.
And with the exception of some dated things. You're right, the football. Well, the football thing, okay. The big dick thing overstays its welcome, or the little dick rather, but his like dumb athlete, I thought was really funny, because
he's like sweating buckets. Just buckets.
I remembered when that part started, I remembered thinking he was really gross, but I didn't remember why until that scene.
Yeah.
And the commentators were so funny. I don't know what it is about commentator characters, but be it Best in Show or an SNL skit or this movie.
Well, Orlando Jones was like, because was that Toby Huss?
Yeah.
It was Toby Huss and Orlando Jones.
Yeah.
Because Toby Huss was like, well, he's playing out there like he's 11, 12 feet tall. And Orlando Jones is just like, he's not that tall.
He can't be that tall. I think it's usually because they'll usually have like one on those kinds of round tables and stuff. They'll have like a retired athlete.
Yeah.
Who sometimes it's like they took a couple of shots to the head sometimes.
Yeah.
And it was really funny.
That's not funny. It's a tragedy. They definitely all took too many shots to the head, but.
Well, I meant.
No, I know.
I wasn't talking about the actual phenomenon. I was talking about. I was talking about that like trope in comedy.
No, I agree with that.
So.
Sorry to bring it down.
Yeah. I feel like this was a dodgy episode.
It's 11 o'clock.
We start a new segment where we're like, is that movie you remember from childhood racist? We'll find out. Nor are we the people that need to be discerning that.
Oh my goodness.
So, medium to good Brendan Fraser movies from the 90s.
Whoop.
They were medium to good.
Yeah. So I guess do we both agree that Blast from the Past is the best of the three? Sweet.
Yeah.
I feel like I won something.
Oh.
I'm so happy you finally. What was there was only one other one that you enjoyed that I made you watch.
I liked Love Actually okay. I was like, well, I was medium on Love Actually. There was something else that you made me watch that I actually really liked, and now I can't think of what it was.
It was not Armageddon.
Oh, weirdly Halloween.
Yeah, the old Halloween.
I liked the original Halloween.
That's what it was, I think, yeah.
I'm the more discerning or pickier, we'll go with pickier viewer of the two of us. But a lot of times it's like, if I don't see a movie, it's because I just wasn't interested in it. And for me, it's not really about whether or not it was good or bad. It didn't appeal to me. So if I didn't see a lot of movies I didn't watch, I didn't want to. But I think a lot of times you'll be like, you'll want me to watch movies that you have. It's difficult because you're good at it, but
good
like
at what?
When I show you movies that were nostalgic for me, you're better at it. Where it's like maybe you're more open minded. I mean, I'm
not better at it. I just do it.
No, but you like them more. I've tried, and I typically don't like them as much. I'm kind of like, it's okay. And I mean, I'm not trying to be a pain. Because sometimes I'll just be like, what about this did she think I would like? But this one I was like, oh my God, Brendan Fraser is like such a like cute, swoon-worthy.
Yeah,
because you just said that I was like that. We've talked about that Toast article. But
yeah, well, you looked at me and you were like, I don't know. Maybe I just need to find like a pretty handsome dude that's just like maybe a little. What did you even say? What was the word that you said?
Did I say brain damaged?
You didn't say brain damaged, but you were like.
We'll go with dummy.
Like it was a little bit rougher than dummy, but you were like, that's not all there. And I was like, yeah. I was like, you are that Toast article. He's tied between 4 log cabins in the woods.
He has a wallet full of cash so stacked that he can't even close it, but he can barely sign his name.
Yeah.
Not the cash part. I don't know. Yeah, I really liked Blast from the Past. And
yay! That was Brendan Fraser movies. As always, you can follow us on Twitter @SoI'mWatching, Instagram @SoI'mWatchingThisShow. We are also on Facebook and Tumblr, So I'm Watching This Show. I suspect that De La is already on our Spotify playlist.
Oh yeah, play us out with De La.
So I'm Watching This Show, the music. And as always, please rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen. Bye!